Alright guys, so we're gonna take a little bit of a break from these fiberglass parts just because the next step is to do Bondo and sanding them smooth. And it's just been raining too much and I don't want to do that indoors, the sanding part of it at least. So we're gonna kind of take a little sidestep and we're gonna work on a different project today. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we are going to, this is my 2003 Maserati Coupe GT. And we are going to make a custom grill for it. So this is the factory grill. This one's actually been plasti dipped because this grill is chrome from the factory. It's actually polished stainless steel. I wouldn't want to paint it over with real permanent paint because it's literally a handmade piece. It's when you take it out, it's kind of astonishing that they actually made this by hand as opposed to just injection molding something, which actually the later models now are all injection molded. But it's somewhat customized already because I painted the grill silver instead of having it be black, and I did the outer lip with, it looks like it's black in the video, but it's actually a graphite gray or like a gunmetal gray. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make my own grill. So to remove the grill, all you need is actually like a little stubby Phillips head screwdriver, and there's basically 4 screws that screw up into the bumper. They're like self-tapping screws basically. So just need a short screwdriver because if it's too long you can't get in here. It's literally those guys. You just basically pry it forward. Make sure not to do it by the emblem. And what I actually like to do is I have a little hook, if I can find it. You could get yourself a little hook tool like this. You could actually grab the bottom edge of the grill and just pull forward, and that way you don't have to worry about breaking anything. That's it. So you can see there's these pins, and then there's these springs in here that kind of capture the head of that pin, so it's almost like a snap fit. You could see this is I mean, it's covered in paint, but it's actually interesting to see that all of these were hand brazed and welded. It's definitely a handmade part. You can see all the custom welding on the inside there. It's actually very interesting to see a handmade piece on the car. All right, so the next step was I actually made myself a corrugated template based off of the grill I removed, just to make sure that I had the right radiuses and contour to the grill. And then I used this, once I drew this in 2D, I then created a 3D file in CAD for the grill. And what I went with the vertical grill pieces, kind of like similar to the new Maseratis, the Grille and the Gran Turismo, just to help to modernize the look of the car a little bit. So I did that in CAD, and I'm gonna see if I could show you some of that footage in this video as well. Alright, so here are two pieces off of the 3D printer. So this white stuff is support material. So this you could just literally rip off, or you could use some sort of a little tool, like a little spatula. But basically these were 3D printed out of ABS plastic. So it's gonna be a good application because ABS is very tough. It's usually what most car bumpers are made out of, or used to be made out of. The idea is to, once I have these cleaned up, I'm gonna glue them together. That's one of the corners of the grill. And you could see I kind of split it into small sections to fit on the printer, and I actually cut them wherever there was a divider or a vertical strake, I guess you could call it. Also, I had to make these have flat bottoms to help with the printing. It's a tall part, and what happens is if you don't have a flat bottom, the part is built on support material just like this on the bottom, and it just gives you a lot of problems. At least I experienced that with the 3D printer I was using. So so I'm gonna glue these together, and I already glued some of the other components, and you could see that's basically the left side. I already glued these. These are all individual sections, so each one of these used to be two pieces. So that's that, and this one is the next one, and then this is my center. You might be asking why are these different colors. That's just the material. This was actually the first piece I did, so I was using some leftover material that just happened to be white and red. Yeah, so there you go. These are the next pieces, like that, and you could kind of see it kind of take shape. And I even got my emblem, so instead of be mounted on the bottom, it's going to be floating. So I actually drew these inserts here, and then when this is all done, this could all be inserted afterwards, and it will allow me to actually make this a different color than the grill. Right now I'm thinking this grill is going to end up being black, and that might be red, so we'll see how that looks. But so like I said, next steps is to just start gluing all these sections together to actually have a one unitized piece. Right, I had a little bit of a disaster. I completely broke this bottom piece off, but the good news is you can just glue it right back up. By the way, I'm using basically super glue, and what's really helping me is this. It's an accelerator basically. So even though super glue dries very quickly, usually once you spray that, it's almost instant, like maybe 10-15 seconds, and it's hard to the touch. So it's very stinky, and make sure you're in the ventilated area, but it works really well. And you could actually use that glue because of this, you're able to use the crazy glue as a filler. So that's how I was able to repair that section that broke off. This whole bottom lip here broke off, and I was able to repair it right away. So also to note, these sides don't come perfectly smooth out of the printer, so I'm having to sand these down so that when I made it next to the next part, there's no pieces there that are kind of pushing them apart. But let's go see. So right now this is the first part that I have so far, and that's just kind of a sneak peek at what this is gonna look like. Keep in mind I'm still gonna have to sand this down to kind of shape it a little bit. But basically that's gonna be the look that I'm going for. I think I'll have to modernize it a little bit. In any case, I'm out of super glue, so I'm gonna have to pick this up later, but to be continued. Alright guys, so I got the grill glued up. I kind of I was a little bit halfway done when I realized I came up with a really good method to glue these. Because they're that even on the bottom, gluing them flat on the table is very tough. So what I did is I just put them lightly on the vise, and then it was easy to stack them because you let gravity do the work as far as, and you just have to line up the two outside edges. So that was a lot easier doing it that way. So that's the grill. It's hard to see what the finished product will look like because of these two pieces being a different color, but you can see it looks a lot more like a modern Maserati grill. I'm gonna just test fit it on the car and see what it looks like. Alright, so as you can see, it's not going in flush. So when you make something out of plastic, in this case it's ABS, there's what they call a shrink value. So whenever you, if you want a part that's 10 inches long, you have to scale it up a little bit. I think it's 0.007 because once the parts are made and as it cools down, they actually shrink. So I compensated for that, but maybe I shouldn't have, because it's just slightly too big to fit inside, because there's a little step up all the way around the perimeter. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I was gonna have to sand this down all these steps to make everything even, because all these gluing spots are like high spots. So I'm gonna have to sand all this, the outer lip of the grill, to make it smooth as well, because right now you could see all the steps. So I'm basically gonna have to just sand it and sculpt it so that it's small enough to fit inside. So that's gonna be the next step with this, and then we'll just sand, test fit until we could get it to sit in there. I don't want it to be recessed like the old one. I want it to be almost flush, this outer lip to be flush to the body, just because that's how the new cars are, and it'll look a little bit more aggressive. Okay, so I sanded down the part of the grill that goes inside, that inserts inside the opening, and got it to pretty much fit flush, except for there is a little bit of a gap here that starts right on this first glue line here, and it goes to about this point here. So you got about 1/8 of an inch gap. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put body filler behind that, try to smooth it out. Also along the top, you could see everywhere where there's a glued section, there's a little bit of a gap. So I'm just gonna put some body filler there too, to then try to fill it in. You can kind of see everywhere there's a glue seam. On this side's not that bad, but halfway through and then on the right side, and then here you got the same thing going on where you got from this glue seam here to that point there, you got a little bit of a gap, about an eighth of an inch. Around the bottom you're not gonna see anything, but on the side here looks pretty perfect, so I'm not worried about that. So really I'm gonna just put some body filler there, and I might put some body filler on the face of the lip here on the bottom, just because I also noticed there's a little bit of gaps where the glued sections are, especially these two and this one in the middle. So so that's gonna be the next step, just some body filler. Alright, so I got the Bondo on there. I have a feeling that this is gonna shrink, obviously as it dries, so I might have to go back and put a second layer, but for now it's just a matter of filling in that gap as much as I can, and then fine-tune it with some extra layers. So right now I gotta wait for this to dry before I could just do that, sand it in and see how much closer I am to the fitment. Alright guys, so I sanded the Bondo down and I just gave it another layer. what happened is if you get high spots here in the corner, it kind of makes everything else be even farther away from the body lines. So what I figured it was better to do is to just put extra Bondo than what I needed and then just sand it down flat. Also, this inside corner here is going to be crucial because if there's a little bit of buildup there and it's hard to sand that inside corner, what happens is it pushes also that lip away from the body line. So I'm gonna let this dry. In the next video, I'm gonna sand this down, and hopefully it'll be straight enough where I could just at least put a layer of primer on it and refit it. And you know, if it all goes well, maybe I could even paint it. I'm gonna be using this sandable primer. I tried it on the emblem here, and you could see it needs to be filled a little bit more. The primer alone might not do it, so I might have to buy some putty just to fill in the little pinholes and stuff like that, and that will probably be required for this part as well. So guys, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.